Margaya expected that Dr. Pal would not come back ever again. Meenakshi never told Margaya that Balu is no longer interested in studying. And Margaya is such a person that he expects this old man not to wish him, because if he believes that this old man wishes or greets early in the morning to Margaya, then this old man would be miscalculating his accounts. Hello, hi, namaste and welcome to Vidhyaashram, first grade college, the temple of excellence. I am Nandakishore, faculty of English in Vidhyaashram, MYSURU. In my previous sessions, I have already discussed about the novel, The Financial Expert, written by R.K. Narayan, which is prescribed to third semester Mysuru University, B.Com and B.B.A students. In today's session, in session 3, I am going to discuss about The Financial Expert, and before I go ahead, let me just give you a recap about part 1 and part 2. As the novel begins, we get to see that Margaya is a financial expert, he is sort of a broker who sits under the banyan tree, and he is sitting in front of the Central Cooperative Bank and he takes the forms and helps the people who are in need of money. As the novel progresses, we get to see that Margaya is very much fond of money and he wants to earn money, where he meets priest who requests him to get his horoscope, and based on the trials he advises him to go on performing a puja, meditate, and Margaya goes to search lotus and the ghee which is drawn from the grey colored cow, and there he meets Dr. Pal, who happens to appear in part 2, who gives him his manuscript about the bed life. Remember, his title is Bed Life, where Margaya negotiates with Dr. Pal and he takes that novel home, where he later mints money. But before the novel ends, in part 2, we get to see that Margaya wants to break with Madan Lal, who prints this book named as Bed Life, and he takes lump sum amount and he walks out of his office. So let us see in today's session what will happen. In scene 3 or in chapter 3 or in part 3, Margaya goes to the town bank. He straight away goes to town bank, takes his check, and he avoids counter and believes that those people who are standing in front of the counter to do business, they are nothing but the people who own a savings account. They have savings account, which makes them a lower class people. He believes that I am a man from upper class people, that I have a current account where this sort of account will be run for business people. He thought doing business in counter windows is for people who had no current account, wanted to be sort of money doctor to people there. Now what happens is, he is just observing people there. They are just like drawing, depositing money. He also observes students from Albert Mission College, and he rebukes their parents like, why are they sending their daughters and sons to withdraw the money? What would they know about account? He believes that he is the only person who knows everything about money, and he says, after looking at people, he thinks, wanted to be a sort of money doctor to people there, and he believes that if I go and give them a piece of advice, possibly or probably they would swarm on me to take a piece of advice. And he considers that he is very good in terms of financial matters. Now he also observes why these people are so densely populated here in the bank, inside the bank, why they are swarming like ants here. It's because showiness. He says this showiness, it's because of the way the chairs are arranged there, the chairs, the ledger book, the thick binds there, the receipts and all those things are going on up and down. The P1s, they are acting as if they are owning the bank, right? And the cashiers who are sitting on the high table, everything is very attractive for the people there. Maybe it's because of that they have come and doing the business. Did they have come and they're doing the business? And this has become a real curse. He believes, Margaya believes, that this is a real curse. People should know how to do their business, but not get attracted to showy things. And later what happens? P1 comes and tells, there is a P1 who comes and tells, manager is free, you can come and meet him. Now Margaya, he just waits until manager is free and he doesn't want to do any transaction, any business in the counter, in the window. After he enters, he goes and talks to the manager, and manager is not in a position to believe what sort of person is Margaya, and he is not, he is respecting Margaya as if he is a hi-fi person or a business tycoon. Now, after a few words exchanged, Margaya says he wants to open an account. That he wanted to open an account, and this bank manager accepts that he would open an account, and Margaya is pleased with the right destination, where the place is 10 Market Road. Now, what is this 10 Market Road? This is one of the busiest streets and the landmark where Margaya will henceforth run his business. That is why he has come to open an account, and he is going to run his business. And later, once he meets Dr. Pal at his house, he tells Dr. Pal that he is going to run or begin his new business, and he is very much pleased with his destination because it is very crowded, very busy, and it is the right place for him to attract customers for his account section. And he goes on to explain about this place where he rents, where he becomes one of the tenants there, and it was a block of 4 shops and 12 feet square. 12 square feet. The shop is 12 square feet, and the first one is thrown in as a sort of grace to the tenant. It is sort of like waste piece of shop, but nobody would like to go there and do business. And the second shop is tailor shop, where he goes on to describe that the wheel is paddling, and there is a huge noise. From morning till evening, the machine run, and at the evening times, the people who had given their clothes would come and demand the tailor if it is ready. And in third shop, there is a tourist bureau where it is clearly understood, where he would give ideas about tourism places to tourists. And in fourth shop, it is doctor. He goes on to tell this doctor is so famous, just within the touch by his hands, he would cure any disease, and he is from Himalaya, has got so much of education. So somehow Margaya thinks that he is going to rent this one of the shops, and that would be the shop here, possibly. Later what happens? Dr. Pal stops Margaya from educating his son. In the next scene, Dr. Pal, he reappears in scene 3, chapter 3, and Dr. Pal is seeing Margaya, who is sitting in front of Balu. Margaya is sitting in front of Balu and trying to teach him something, trying to make him read, where Balu is completely rejecting. His eyes are filled with tears, and Dr. Pal stops Margaya from educating his son. In a sense, he tells that this is not the way to teach your son. And don't you know, Dr. Pal says, don't you know that the parents are not supposed to compel their sons or daughters or their children to study, which is the style of westernization. He talks about the style. It is one of the things that you should be aware of. And later, Margaya becomes restless by Pal's visit, because without any indication, without any message, Dr. Pal has reappeared after 3 or 4 years, and by then, Margaya has become rich. Now, Margaya expected that Dr. Pal would not come back ever again, but Dr. Pal is present now. And he says that, he starts acting very restless. He's sort of an embarrassed person there, because he doesn't know how to greet Dr. Pal now. And moreover, what is going on in his mind? Why is he becoming restless? It's because Margaya is expecting Dr. Pal that he would come and ask for a share that he has earned from his book. Remember? Bed Life. Later renamed as Domestic Harmony. So Margaya is not so welcoming for Dr. Pal, and he somehow manages to make up his mind and ask Dr. Pal to sit. And Margaya says that he is not so rich enough to buy sofas where you would be pleased to sit on sofa and to have a chat. And even both of these people tell that, Dr. Pal and Margaya, both of them agree, it's fine, no issues, that I am not fond of sofas either. So they accept it, and Dr. Pal says he had been to tourism. And later, as the conversation builds, Pal says that he had been to tourism. And Margaret is not aware about this word at all. He immediately questions Dr. Pal that what is tourism? And Dr. Pal, he knew that, Margaret always pretends, though he doesn't know anything. So after that, Dr. Pal says that he is going to be no longer a writer. He has given up his writing as well. And Margaret says, even I have given up this sort of a job which I owned before, and now I am planning to start a new business. Next, what happens? Dr. Pal takes Margaret to 10 Market Road. Remember, I have already introduced, there are 4 shops, and he meets the owner of those shops there, and he happens to become municipal councillor, and his name is Gururaj. He is running his own business, but still he has constructed shops which he has earned out of his business, where he is selling blankets. Once both Dr. Pal and Gururaj meet, they start to have a conversation where Margaret is left alone. He feels that he is like, why should he stand in the hot sun, while these two are having a conversation? He gets irritated and he tells, shall we get on with the business? Because he has told Dr. Pal that he is going to start business. And Dr. Pal has brought him to 10 Market Road so that he would help him in becoming a tenant to purchase a shop or to rent the shop now. Now Margaret says that he is so much irritated. He tells that, shall we begin with the business? And the owner of that shop says the rent would be 75 rupees. And Margaret says, my God, it is too much. But well, if it is going to make money for me, of course I have to hire it or rent it. Upon being asked, Gururaj asked, why are you buying this shop? Why are you renting this shop? And he says, I'm just going to run my business, which is sort of banking. Yes, where he says, Margaret says, I'm just going to run my business, which is sort of banking. After few days or so, Margaret starts thinking only burden next to money was Balu, because Balu is nowhere to be seen near his expectation. Because he had flunked in matriculation 2 times. Balu had failed 2 times. No matter what sort of efforts Margaret put forth or put in, it all went in vain. He had hired 1 private tutor for 2 subjects, 3 teachers there, and Balu was not interested in studies at all. This was very much particular, and this disinterestedness by Balu about his education was pretty familiar to his mother Meenakshi. But Meenakshi never told Margaret that Balu is no longer interested in studying. And neither Margaret bothered to ask his wife, how is Balu studying at home? So he was completely immersed. He was lost in his financial thoughts. On the day of examination, what Margaret does is, he always tells that, he always scolds Meenakshi that she had to prepare a lot of good food, which would give Balu the strength and energy so that he is studying for his examination. On the day of examination, what he does is, he tells Balu that you are going to be in the examination hall for the complete examination duration. You are going to sit there, you are going to write. I know, I believe that you, my son, going to clear this matriculation this time. But what Balu does is, he would just go to examination hall, be there for half an hour, and that half an hour he would not do anything, just draw some picture there, nonsensical things, and get out of this examination hall and go and buy this cigarette packs, go to this temple, broken temple near the Sarai where Dr. Pal had met Margaret for the first time. He would puff and take a nap, sleep, and come back home late night. So this appearance, these doings were pretty much familiar to Meenakshi, where she never questions Balu, because she knew that Balu was smelling cigarette, and she could easily identify his lips had gone black because he was puffing cigarette. So once the results came, Margaret realized that his son had flunked even this time, and he starts rebuking, he starts scolding his son. In return, Balu is no longer a small kid now. He has crossed 15 or 16, and he is back answering his father. In return, Margaret says, how am I to hold my head up in public? If you're not going to... This is told to Balu by Margaret. He says, how am I to hold my head up in public? I cannot go out in the public and tell the people who are in touch with me that my son has not passed or cracked or got through SSLC, which is such an embarrassment. So Balu comes home late every time. This is the daily routine. He goes out. He doesn't want to study. He comes home late. Margaret thinks of Balu getting through his SSLC. He says somehow he finds a way, and what he does is he goes to his school. Remember, he is the secretary of the school. He goes to the school and somehow he gets this SSLC register. So which is pretty hard bound, which is difficult to tear. But after Margaret scolding that, I have to talk to you once, after finishing their dinner, both of them start abusing each other. Like Balu will be back answering and Margaret is scolding Balu. And somehow Margaret stops and tells that this time you are going to clear this matriculation. Somehow I'm going to get in touch with the people whom I know and they are going to help me to clear your matriculation. And he starts reading, taking out his SSLC register. He says, you have just scored 12 out of 100 in hygiene, because Balu is completely drenched, immersed himself in puffing cigar, right, not maintaining hygiene. And there is one thing called hygiene there. And it was just marked 12 out of 100, which shows his hygiene level. This couldn't be taken by Balu. This was not taken very lightly by Balu. And what he does is he just grabs hold of this marks card by his father's hands and tears them into 4 pieces, goes out and puts in the gutter. Remember where he had dropped register of his father in the first scene in part 1. And in the same gutter, he just throws his marks card, register. So this is completely gone now. Margaret couldn't control his anger. He's completely lost. He is dumbstruck, and the 4 pieces were just carried away by the overflowing gutter. Oh, Margaret is completely heartbroken. He is in shock. Next, what happens? Balu, soon after this, Balu leaves, actually disappears. And next scene appears that Margaret is very fond of umbrella. He has a particular style of holding umbrella and he doesn't like to share umbrella, and he compares umbrellas to wives. He says that people ask for my umbrella, and he just goes on to tell these words. Will those people ask for wives? Will they exchange wives? That's how important umbrella is in his life. That's how he goes on to describe his umbrella. After few days, now Meenakshi is completely worried and she cribs for her son that Balu is no longer seen here. I want my son. But somehow Margaret goes on to convince her, if you want anything, you ask for any money you want. Why are you eating up my head? Why are you cribbing about Balu? Because Meenakshi is showing about her motherhood. But on the other hand, Margaret is not so worried about his lost son. He has disappeared and he's not worried about anything. He's only worried about umbrella. He's only worried about his finance. So in order to avoid her anger, in order to avoid her words, he starts reading newspaper. He just reads, and this has 2 advantages. One thing, he can pretend as if he's completely lost in reading newspaper, so that he can avoid his wife's words. Second thing, he reads a lot of stocks and shares. He reads about happenings around the world so that he can go to his clients or customers and talk to them in a firm manner that he knows the things that are happening around the world, which would present himself in a better way. So Balu has already disappeared. Now this is increasing in the mind of Meenakshi. Now, every day, day after day, she goes on cribbing. She goes on creating tantrum. She wants her son back now. So Margaya office is again described there. This is the next scene there. Margaya's office is described where R.K. Narayan describes that this is a office, and on the other corner of the office there is a man, old man, who is an assistant who works under Margaya, who helps him to take care of all his financial stuff. And Margaya is such a person that he expects this old man not to wish him, because if he believes that this old man wishes or greets early in the morning to Margaya, then this old man would be miscalculating his accounts. So which Margaya doesn't like. He doesn't expect that to happen. And later, old man gives a lot of assistance, a lot of ideas, like how people are just demanding their bonds or papers within a couple of days, which would create a lot of problem for them. And Margaya just tells this old man that he's going to find a way. Now, Margaya is very much worried because his owner, he tells that, he's not going to give the electricity to the shop, because his owner believes, the landlord believes, that somewhat after 6 o'clock the people have to stop working. That is what his notion, that is what the idea he has. And he goes on bluffing with his tenants, saying that, I have ordered this electricity requirements right from America, where I'm getting these blankets from. So very soon I'm going to get it, and I'm going to get it installed. But at the back he goes on to scold or just blame these tenants or the rented person, and he says that why does person work so much? Why do people work so much? I think after the sunset, especially after 6 o'clock, they should go home. And I've heard that government is going to implement a rule, a law, there should be certain working hours. So within that working hours, you should finish off everything and you should go back home. And it happens, out of all these clients where Margaya has, one happens to be a person named Kanda. He has appeared in scene 1, if you read this novel thoroughly, and he is from Somanur. And this Kanda comes and tells Margaya that, I am Kanda, don't you remember me? And Margaya keenly inspects this person and goes on to say, my God, it is you, Kanda. What has happened to you? You look so old. You look like 100 years old man. You have lost your teeth. You have got wrinkles. You have got spectacles. What has happened to you? And Kanda says that, you need to ask that person. He has given me this life. And he goes on to describe his difficulties, where he is owning some land and he has grown some crops, which is difficult now. And Margaya goes on to promise Kanda that he is going to come to his village and help him out. And he also chases other people who are in his office because he wants to talk to Kanda. Later what happens, after he comes home, he looks at people who are crowded in front of the house, and he just couldn't believe himself and he couldn't believe his eyes. As he just moves in, he sees his brother and his sister-in-law in the house, and his wife is crying. She is crying, lying on the floor, just like a wee baby. Upon being asked, his wife says that Balu is dead. She has got a postcard, and it is written that Balu is no more. How can they leave now? Now there is a scene that she is creating. After this scene, everybody tells that, okay, anyway, Balu is dead now, you have to go to Madras. Now he is in Madras. It has come from Madras. Everyone forces that Margaya has to go to Madras now. But Margaya resists, that he cannot go. And moreover, he requests, he pleads, he gets angry, and he tells that all the people who are in his house should get out immediately. This is a particular scene you should remember, because it is very important, because it shows the mentality of Margaya. Once the people started leaving, he says, how can they leave so easily? I just told them to leave and they are leaving. And Margaya's mentality is such that even after listening about his son's death, he says that had these people come in and after or before they leave, or possibly if the entrance had been charged, if I had set some amount to enter the house, maybe I would have got some money. He had seen so many people there. Even then, he is thinking about money there. So that is the mentality of Margaya now. He is not worried about his son's death. He is worried about how to make money even then. After people convincing him, telling him that he has to go to Madras, he just rejects. I can't go and I won't go. He is not bothered to go and inspect whether his son is alive or dead. Now somehow his brother says that, even I am going to come along with you. So don't worry. And he is thinking of traveling without any much difficulty, because his brother has accepted, even he is going to accompany him, and he is thinking, the thoughts are going on in his mind saying that, okay, I am just going to travel along with my brother so that he will buy me the ticket. I am not going to spend money out of my pocket. On people asked, now Balu might have been dead, and what is the reason? Margaya had prayed to God. After 3 or 4 years, Margaya had got this baby, Balu, and people ask, had you just fulfilled your words, or you had prayed to God that you would weigh him on the silver coins? Had you just done it? And he says, yes, of course, he weighed soon after his birth, maybe a couple of days, he weighed 300 rupees weight. The silver coins worth 300 rupees weight, and he had done it. He had fulfilled his words to the God. So what he does is, he decides to go to Madras, and he sat in 3rd class compartment. This is very important. Once he goes to the counter to buy the ticket, he requests the person to give the ticket even for the 4th class. There is no 4th class as such, but Margaya requests, if there is any such class, 4th class, it is okay for me to go and travel there. So this shows stinginess. How much he is looking at the money, how much stingy. And next, once he enters there, he looks at the ambience of this train. The compartment is completely filled with the people of low class, where the toilet door is open, and he goes on to scold one of the persons there, saying that it is my seat, get out. And that fellow says that he had been traveling from Tiruchirappalli, Trichy to Madras. It is where he believes that he has got into this train, and the train seat is mine. After looking at this person who carries his bangles, even there he thinks about money, because he gets to know, Margaya gets to know that this fellow, bangle seller, is going for a fair, right? A jatra, right? Where a festival, sort of like where he can sell bangles. And he questions this person, saying that, after a couple of days you will have your pocket filled with money. He's only talking about money now. In this compartment, Margaya meets a policeman. Both of them exchange words, and both of them also exchange the snuff. Remember, the snuff. This leads them to get acquainted. So upon being introduced, Margaya brings in a reference of Bhagavad Gita, where he says that, if you help a person, that you are blessed. And policeman agrees to take this postcard from Margaya, because Margaya goes on to explain about his son's death, son's disappearance. And policeman says that, I can help you out. Since I am from Madras and you don't know anybody from Madras, in Madras, I can help you out in that. And he takes the postcard, which has come from Park Town. This is very important. The postcard has come from Park Town. And after the inquiry, this policeman, he comes to Margaya and tells that your son is still alive, don't worry. Now Margaya is shocked. He is very keen. He is very eager to meet his son. Next, they go to the house. Margaya and policeman, they board this car, jeep, and they move towards this house, which is named as the House of Enlightenment. Before entering this house, policeman gives him, so police asks that this person has come in search of Balu, who happens to be his son. Now, this madman is completely busy writing the letters, and he claims that he is going to write, he has already written the letter to Roosevelt, Stalin and Churchill, who happens to be the president, right, who happens to be the Canadian general, the powerful people. And he also says that he claims that he is also writing letters to president and prime minister and most important people across the world. So this shows that he is completely not normal. And then police somehow gets the information from this man. He takes Margaya to Central Talkies, where Krishna Leela movie is being shown. And this is where Margaya meets his son, because his son Balu is working under the producer, like the theater owner, just to give publicity for this cinema. And later, Balu happens to be in the hands of Margaya and they decide to go back. Now, Margaya goes back with his son, Balu. He takes him, and before they leave, Margaya just thanks police because of his timely help to find his son. And police in return says that he has kept police on watch on his son so that he would not come back to Madras and he would not do any such mischief henceforth. So on the way back home to Malgudi, now Balu is a bit hesitant, is a bit angry. For all the questions asked by Margaya, Balu will be not answering it. So Margaya says, you don't have to worry about anything. I know that Balu is very much fond of Madras, that he was very happy, but still Margaya says you don't have to do anything much except you eat, rest and grow fat. We don't expect, and I'm not going to compel you to study anymore. So this comforts Balu to an extent. After Balu comes home, now Meenakshi is very much enthusiastic, she is very much happy, she is delighted, she goes on to dress herself like a newlywed mother, and she goes on to prepare anything and everything that Balu liked. And upon that, there is a few words exchanged between Margaya and Meenakshi, and Meenakshi is very much frustrated now. And she says, go and lick their feet for love of that wonderful brother of yours. You will do anything for him, I'm sure. Why? Because when Balu enters the house, he is a bit shocked to see his uncle and aunt in his house. So after Balu's appearance, remember, his brother had told that I am going to be your brother from henceforth and I am not going to be your enemy anymore. But after the appearance of Balu, again they have turned the enemies. Again, the chairs have turned, and here Margaya is not ready to give up his brother, wherein Meenakshi is not in favor of his brother-in-law and sister-in-law. So that is it for today's session. I am going to meet you in my next session. In my next session, I am going to combine both 4th and 5th chapter or 5th unit since they are very small. Until then, keep reading. Have a good day.